Welcome to Intuitive Connection, where spirituality and psychology meet to help you be your best and brightest self. I'm your host, Victoria Shaw, and in each episode, I'll help you to awaken your own inner wisdom, step into your power, and live a more divinely inspired life. You're here to let your inner light shine. Are you ready? Let's do this. Hello and welcome to Intuitive Connection. I'm your host, Victoria Shaw, intuitive counselor Victoria Shaw, and so excited to be here with you today, and so excited to get right into today's topic, which is muscle testing and my own journey and experience learning to muscle test or relearning to muscle test. So muscle testing, as you may remember, and we recently had a guest on the show, Ian Haycroft, who talked all about muscle testing, and we've had other muscle testers on the show too. I don't know if we've talked about it in as much detail as we did in Ian or Ian. I don't remember how he says his name, his episode. But muscle testing is a way that we can tune into the wisdom of our bodies. And you'll see it used sometimes with chiropractors or other kinds of energy healers or EFT practitioners where they muscle test for you. And basically, you can see your muscles will go weak when something isn't true or doesn't resonate with you or is blocking your energy in some way. So it's a really cool tool for doing all sorts of things, like seeing what resonates with your body, what foods you feel like eating, what choices and options most deeply resonate with you. It's great for finding, those limiting beliefs and stuck energies in our bodies if you believe in all of that. So it's a really good tool. And yours truly has been trying to learn it now almost as long as I've been in practice. And it does not flow naturally and normally for me. Now, my first experience with muscle testing probably was in my first intuition development class, where we learned the sway test. And that's basically where, you notice how your body sways when you ask a series of questions. And you can start with any kind of yes or no question. And the thing that we're going to talk about today is muscle testing is always asking a yes or no question, okay? And I'm going to talk a little bit, too, for me, the yes and no questions I think are one of the areas where I get tripped up because yours truly likes to live in the gray area. And so definitive yes and no's have not always been my thing. But anyhow, so you get a definitive yes or no question, like yes if it's strong, no if it's weak. And so one way that we can do this is called the sway test. And many people find that when something is positive, their body naturally kind of sways towards it. So you move forward with your body. And when something doesn't feel so grand, your body naturally retracts. You move backwards. So that's one of them. Another muscle test you've probably seen, and I'll try to have some visuals up on the website for you all and some videos. My dear friend Robin Friedman, who's been on the show before, and shall be again very shortly because it's been way too long. She has a lot of great how-to videos on her YouTube and her various places. So I will make sure to have links to that as well. But basically, another one, and a lot of the naturopaths use this one, is you put your arm up in the air, usually your dominant arm, could be your non-dominant arm. And then somebody else will come and you try to kind of resist someone else pushing it down. And again, if it's a yes, it's very easy for you to resist. If it's a no, then you can't resist it as well. And the one that I do, and there's so many, so, I'm just giving you a little preview of just the basic idea. The one that I usually do is taking my thumb and my ring finger and making a little circle with them and then trying to pull that apart. And that's a really good self-testing one. And so basically, I'll do it right now, even though y'all can't see me. I'll ask myself a question that I know is the truth, like, my name is Victoria Shaw. And it's really strong. I'll ask myself a question that's maybe less true, like my name is Donald Duck, and it breaks. It's not strong. It's weak. And I can break out of my little lock very easily. So that's the ins and outs of muscle testing and how it works. And muscle testing, for me, goes into the same category as all of these kinds of yes or no question things that trip me up. So pendulums are another way to get a yes or no question. Pendulums you can sometimes get more than just a yes or no. But basically, all of these are different divination methods to get a yes or no question. And a pendulum, too, is also working with your body, right? It's working through your body because if you're doing it right, you're holding it very still. And different people read them in different ways. And it's always best with a pendulum to get your own yes or no. So you get the pendulum and you ask the pendulum, what's my yes and what's my no? For me, sometimes it's clockwise yes, counterclockwise no, the swing, or more often it goes vertically when it's a yes and horizontally when it's a no, to sort of mirror what our head does when we are nodding yes or shaking no. But irregardless, that too gets into that sort of innate wisdom of the body beyond that conscious mind. And we start to tap into what we know more deeply than what we think we know with our logical minds. And so I really do love muscle testing, and I've seen so many people do it so effectively. I've also seen, and I saw this all the way back to my first EFT training, which was the first place where I was really formally introduced to muscle testing and found that I did not like it one bit. True story. And I was working with this fantastic guy who's pretty well known in the field of thought form. What is it called? TAT, one of the EFT kind of energy psychology variants. And was kind of a big shot and had been doing this for millions of years. And he was trying to teach me how to muscle test, but it was not flowing for me at all. Other aspects of EFT really do speak to me, but not the muscle testing. So anyhow, what trips me personally up with the muscle testing, I think, is the yes or no aspect of it and how it has to be so definitive. But my guides are reminding me that the reason I sat down to do this episode is not to teach you how to muscle test, although we will put some of that information out there on the socials in case you are curious. And not even to tell you that this resource is available to you, but it absolutely is. And if from this first, 7 minutes of this episode, you are now intrigued to learn how to muscle test because you think that this will be your way to connect with your intuition, then I really invite you and encourage you to do that. Because, our intuition speaks to a lot of us in different ways. And my friend, again, Robin Friedman, who will have her information in the show notes, is an amazing muscle tester with amazing accuracy on a whole range of things. It's one of her preferred and primary modalities for so many things that she does. She also practices emotion code, which uses muscle testing, and EFT, which uses muscle testing, and all sorts of yummy things and modalities, right? And so if you feel drawn to this, like anything else, please pursue that. But today, the rest of the episode is about my own journey with muscle testing and my own complicated journey with muscle testing and what I have learned more recently from really taking a foray into trying to learn to use this modality. And a lot of the hang up for me, I believe, has been in the definitiveness of a yes or no question. So I think that's the first place where I get tripped up. Because if somebody asks me a question for intuitive guidance, it is very rare that I will get a definitive yes or no. And a lot of the people that I go to get really strong yes or no's. But I think, again, as I said earlier, I'm sort of a gray area person. And so for me, if someone asks for guidance on something, my guides will give them a dissertation. It'll give them at least a few paragraphs, a few sentences, a few options, right? Feeling into, what each choice entails rather than do this, don't do that. And I think that's just partially how I flow. And I've done my best to make peace with that, even though there are times when I would like just to know yes or no definitively what to do, as we all, sometimes do. But more and more now I've wanted to crack this nut of muscle testing. And so I've been practicing it more and more. And what I'm starting to realize for me, the biggest difficulty or obstacle in muscle testing, and I think too the place, where I get the most tripped up until now, is this idea of trust. Of trusting it, of trusting that definitive answer, yes or no. Muscle testing is tricky too, because it depends on the question you ask. And so very slight variations in how you ask that question can change whether it's a yes or a no. So you have to be pretty particular. So oftentimes it's really great when you're muscle testing if you use your intuition to formulate the question. It's true, right? Because sometimes you're asking a different question than you think you're asking, and you're getting that yes or no answer relative to either what you're saying out loud or sometimes what you really mean when you're speaking. You may be saying one thing and thinking something else. Sometimes the muscle test will answer, the latent question, the question that you haven't articulated. Wow, that's fascinating. And I didn't see that one coming at all. But what the guides are redirecting me to talk about, and what prompted this episode, is for me, this journey into learning to muscle test again has been really a journey into deepening my trust with my own inner knowing and deepening my trust with life.
right? And also recognizing that it's okay, right, to not always get it right. It's okay to sometimes be confused or ask the wrong question or, get an answer that doesn't turn out to pan out. And friends, if you can't allow yourself to be in that space of not knowing, if you can't allow yourself to occasionally make quote unquote mistakes, which is how we calibrate, right? We calibrate our intuition to our highest wisdom by giving it a try, trying it out, and learning through experience and exposure what pans out and what doesn't. That's how we tune and train the instrument. I want to take a moment for you all to take that in. And years ago, when I was learning to tap into my intuition in all of the magical ways that do flow very nicely for me, one of the things that was hardest for me to learn even back then was, sometimes I was going to be quote unquote wrong. I wasn't going to get it exactly right. I was going to say something that wasn't going to pan out. And that was really scary for me. And I've talked about this in this show before, but I remember the pivotal moment when I really just addressed my anxiety and fear around getting the wrong answer. I made a prediction, or the guides, I should say, made a prediction. I was giving a little mini reading to my husband at the time. And it was during a tropical storm, and we were without power, and our generator was not working. And at the end of the little mini reading that I gave to my husband as we were walking home, the guides said to me to tell him to go home and take a hot bath. And we didn't have power. So without power, hot baths were not a thing. And I remember doing this little mental dance in my brain saying, I can't tell him that because it's not true, right? And it's a prediction that the power is going to go back on really shortly. And I don't want to be wrong on that. And then I thought about it. I'm like, look, this is my husband and I trust him and he trusts me. And if I'm wrong, there's nothing to lose here. Give it a try. And so I said to him, my guidance is that you should go in and take a hot bath. And lo and behold, he went back into the house. He fiddled with the generator. He solved the problem. And the whole reading that he got was on what a beautiful manifester he is, which is something I think to this day he still doesn't own. But I love you so much, my friend, because I know the truth about you, even where you do not. But anyhow, so he fiddled with the generator. He got it working again, and he took a hot bath. So that was a big pivotal moment for me about allowing myself to not always get it right. Right. But now fast forward 15 years and here I am playing again, with a new modality, a new way of connecting with my intuition. And one of the things that I realized is I don't want to get it wrong. And so I overthink it. So I'm like, is that a yes? Is that a no? Let me ask the question 5 times and muscle test it 5 times. When we do this, my friends, we are back in our minds and we are surely no longer in our intuition. Because as soon as you're asking, is it with your mind, you have gotten yourself out of the flow of that deeper kind of knowing. And so that's what was happening to me with the muscle testing. And what I've loved about this journey with muscle testing is it's reminding me of all of the ways that I learned to connect with my intuition the first time around and how I'm learning again, because I'm seeing again all the pitfalls and all the areas that we can get a little bit, stopped up or, I don't love the word stuck, but, just a little slowed down. And so one of them for me is in that trusting. And when we are connecting with our inner wisdom in any way, we have to trust ourselves. We have to trust ourselves. We have to trust the process. And we have to allow that we will never, and we're not supposed to, get everything 100% right. And that's okay. And you've heard me talk on the phone too. What's right or wrong anyway? We don't really know. And again, intuition is around calibrating to the best of your ability to your highest self. That's it. And sometimes what your mind thinks is right or wrong has nothing to do with anything anyway, right? But always that deep connection with our intuition involves a deep level of surrender and trust in the process. And that means that we have to allow ourselves sometimes to not get it 100% right and be okay with that, because that is all part of how we calibrate. Got it? So another thing that I'm learning from my journey in muscle testing is really just how fun and freeing it is. How fun and freeing it is to tune in, to get the answer, to let it go, and just to see how things flow. Because oftentimes we make this stuff so serious, right? And look, I give intuitive readings and guidance for a living, and most people, though some people call me with their fun, playful, joyful questions, and if that is you, please bring it on because I love that. I love the energy tune-ups and the my life is great. How do I make it greater? And hey, I just want to hear what my guides have to say today and all that good, wonderful stuff. But truthfully, a lot of people come to me when they're struggling because, that's usually when we ask for help and support. And you would think when someone's lost a loved one or worrying about losing a job or leaving a relationship or struggling with, an issue with a child or an illness, you'd think those are not the moments to be playful with someone, right? Because, life demands a certain level of, seriousness and what is the word that wants to come through? Direness. I know that's not a word, but that's what I get. Friends, actually, those are the moments when we can be the most playful. And again, if you're not feeling it right now, I understand. And I'm not feeling it a lot of times too. So I'm giving myself a kiss. And I will tell you that intuition always comes from that place of joy and play and lightness because that is where your soul resides. And so one of the fun things for me about muscle testing and having to learn this new modality is it's reminding me to lighten up. It's reminding me that no question is life or death. And even life or death questions, right? Death is just a stage shift in your spiritual being. Everything that's good and right about you will still persist on the other side of the veil. I promise you that. I have seen that again and again. But regardless, it reminds me to have a greater lightness with my life and also with my intuition. Because when we take this too seriously, we shut it down. And when we take it more playfully, right, we open up the conduit and channel even more. So for me, muscle testing has become kind of fun because I don't have to get it right all the time. And I'm kind of delighted and surprised how often it lines up. And I'm also okay when sometimes I didn't get it 100% right. And again, sometimes we don't even know what's right or wrong. Now, the guides want me to end this episode by talking a little bit about some of the things that gets in the way of hearing that signal and aligning with that signal more clearly, be it if it's the little voice in your mind, your sense of knowing, your bodily sensations, or if you're doing something like working with a pendulum or, in my case, muscle testing. And the first thing they say gets in the way is ego, surprise, surprise, and our egoic ideas of how we think things should be. And they say that if you have a strong idea of what the answer is, or if you have a strong egoic identification with being right or wrong, right? Or you have a strong egoic identification with a particular answer or a particular way that things have to be, this will make it harder for you to hear the subtle wisdom of your soul, which is your intuition. And so they say, and I want to get this from the guides, but they say go ahead. In those moments, part of our intuition is starting to become more present and notice when we are in that space. And when we have a strong idea, they say, like, if people came into my office and I had to be right 100% of the time in whatever modality I was using because I had to be, the wise one, the elder, the one that had all the answers, it may work some of the time, but I would also be shutting it down. And I would also be, and this is what happens a lot too, I would also be filling in the blanks so that I would always sound important. And in those filling in the blanks, that would be ego, not soul, not intuition, and not higher guidance. Does that make sense? I love that. And so they say this energy of not knowing, of play, of allowing yourself to be wrong, of not taking it too seriously, this helps us get out of that ego. My guides are kindly saying that I do that very well, and I am so grateful. They say not 100%, but I will take that in too. They say I'm doing fine. I love you guys so much. And they say many readers are not. And they say many listeners too. If you do this as a need to know for yourself or others, to be an authority, to be better than, if you even look at your muscle testing as the definitive answer above all of the other resources that you have at your disposal, to make a determination. Like right now, I muscle test when I take supplements in the morning. And sometimes before I test a supplement, I know the answer, right? Do I need the muscle test? I don't know. Right. And so we want to keep it loose. We want to use these all as tools for experience our intuition and our inner knowing without letting the ego get overly attached to any particular mode, modality, approach, or even answer. And remember too, and I learned this again from muscle testing, Something can muscle test well when I phrase it a certain way. 2 seconds later, the answer can change because things change. The other day, I was getting some body work done, and we had about 10 minutes left, and she was trying to decide what part of the body to focus on for my last 10 minutes because 2 parts were still hurting. And I ran to the bathroom to get a break, and I did a little muscle test, and I got that they were both equal, that they were both good. But then when I asked the question, if I have to choose one, I tested them again, and one of them was weak. And so I said, okay, we're going to start here. And she said, well, we'll split the time. We'll do half of this one and half of the other one. So she did the one, that tested strong first. We got to the end of that, and my body knew the other thing was not doable. It was not doable. Maybe there wasn't enough time, or maybe things had shifted in my body where that was no longer needed. But regardless, I got a strong no. So just, 5 minutes earlier, 10 minutes earlier, I'd gotten a very strong yes that this would be fine to do, right? But things change. Life is a delicate cascade of yes or no's, right? And they're going to change and morph because in each moment, we create a new now. We create a new now based on everything that is lining up in this present moment. And so what was true just a moment ago may not be true anymore. And as I've told you all before many times on the show, our intuition tells us only what is true, right, and aligned in the now, right? And that's a moving target. So it's important too with our intuition not to hang on to, if this muscle tests yes, it muscle tests yes forever. It just muscle tested no, by the way. I was just doing that little motion. That's so funny, and it broke. But anyhow, what is true now? And the guys don't even want me to use true, but test strong now, right? What feels aligned now may not be true or aligned in the next moment. And that is exactly as it should be. So I want to do a couple of takeaways from this episode. Number one, if you feel drawn to muscle testing, we will have some examples on the socials for you all to tune into that, and we'll have some links for you to look at other places as well, because it is a fantastic modality for tuning into the wisdom of your body and really feeling into what feels resonant in the now and what does not. And that is really, really powerful. The one thing the guides are reminding me to say before we wrap up is muscle testing probably isn't super great for telling the future. Now, yours truly tries to do that all the time. And I've often had things that are sort of like future predictions, like muscle testing what time I should leave for the airport tomorrow, or what time I should get picked up from a concert. My friend has done this for me, and she's been eerily accurate, right? So those are kind of future predictions. But just be aware that where you have first of all, intuition can only tell you what's true in the now. So a future prediction is only based on the now, and everything, you are constantly creating your future all the time, and that can most definitely change. But the other reason they want to bring this out is they want to remind us that we really want to be present. And muscle testing helps us stay present. It helps us stay aligned on our path. It helps us know what is the best choice for us now. It lets us know what is the most aligned answer for us now. It keeps us aligned to the present moment. And that is the only one that counts. And when you stay there and when you align with that more fully, truly, and completely, you will naturally and normally flow into the future of your grandest dreams. Ooh, I love that. Thank you, guides. So the first thing is, if you feel called to muscle testing, by all means do it. The second one is, don't use it to tell the future. Don't ask it to do more than it's here to do, which is to give you that best answer in the now. Know too, as I've learned from this journey and been reminded of, the greatest obstacles to our intuition, be it muscle testing or any other mode of receiving, are lack of ability in trusting ourselves and our inner knowing, and also allowing ourselves to get out of the way, be in that space of play, be in that space of curiosity, be in that space of fun, be in that space of discovery. Remember that it's okay if we don't get it all right. Life is about the journey, the exploration, the experiencing, and your intuition is one of the best tools that you have to stay aligned as you have this human experience. And it's a really, truly beautiful thing. But don't ask your intuition to do more than it's here to do. Don't ask your intuition to give you all the answers, because the answers are found in the living of life. All right. And I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in. It is my pleasure and honor to get to share with you all. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you would like the tools to connect more to your intuition, you can join us over in the Intuitive Connection Premier Community, which is my new membership community where we explore all of the topics covered in this beautiful podcast in more detail, play with some of our guests for exclusive Q&As, and probably very most importantly, where I can support you and we support each other in deepening our connection with our own inner wisdom. So if that sounds like a fun thing for you, join us over there. You can also join us in the Intuitive Connection Community Facebook group, which is completely free, and we do some fun stuff over there too. And wherever you are on your journey, thank you so much for tuning in. I love you all so, so, so very much, and namaste.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you found joy, strength, inspiration, and clarity from today's episode. If you'd like to learn more and connect with an amazing group of like-minded souls, please join us over on Facebook in the Intuitive Connection Community Facebook group, where we explore these topics in deeper detail, have additional live teachings, and host Facebook Lives with our amazing guests. I hope to see you there. And of course, if you want to learn more about me or the work that I do, please check out my webpage, victoriashawintuitive.com. Thank you so much again, and namaste.